Thanks for joining us for Inside Franklin and Marshall Wrestling. I'm Brad Weltman here for GoDiplomats.com. Joined as always by Franklin and Marshall head wrestling coach Mike Rogers and special guest 285-pounder Antonio Paluzzi. Guys, thanks a lot for sitting down here with us. Really appreciate it. Yep. So, Mike, you guys competed the Grapple the Garden last weekend. Went 1-1. Took 8 of 10 matchups against Oswego in a 34-12 win. And then against Northwestern, they were ranked number 21 in the nation coming into that match. It was close early on. You're tied 9-9, heading into 157. So it looks like you're starting to see some consistency from some spots in your lineup. Just kind of talk about your guys' performances from Sunday.
First off, it was just great to be in the Madison Square Garden. How many opportunities do you get to wrestle in a venue like that, and to have a wrestling event like they had there. They did a great job of organizing it, and a lot of fanfare and hyping it up. And it was a nice trip for the guys. We went down the night before, walked around the city a little bit, and kind of made a little bit of a trip out of it. But wrestling-wise, I think our guys are finally starting to put some things together. They look good against Oswego State. We're pretty consistent from top to bottom, and seeing some good techniques and guys finishing matches off, which was our problem last weekend. We talked about our guys, not wrestling the full 2-3 minute periods, and I think we did a better job on that. And then going against Northwestern, I think we did a pretty good job. The matches that we were competitive in were close matches, a couple 1-2 point matches. I think we were more aggressive. We were in better shape. Overall, we took more shots. Now, the next step in the next series, looking at it, earlier on in the season, we weren't getting to our shots. Now we're getting to our shots. We got to finish them off. I think Edgar probably took, I'd have to count them up, but, at least a half a dozen shots, and, only finished maybe 1 or 2 of them. We got to convert a little bit more on those shot ratio, So we do that. That makes a big difference. The thing that really killed us, and the thing that we got to, avoid is giving up big points, and that's kind of been another issue for us throughout the season, is going to our back and either getting pinned or going to our back and giving up a big point with that new 4-point rule. That's a big hole, 6 points, and then trying to climb out of that hole. Sometimes we just run out of time. So, I like the way we competed. I think our mat presence was good. Our guys fought. They were aggressive. We do that. That's what we're looking for. The wins and losses, obviously, we always want to go out there. We want to win, but more importantly, we want to compete. We say put on a show and entertain our fans and our supporters. And I think our guys did that for the most part this weekend. They went out there and was aggressive. They went after their technique. Where we need to improve on is, again, I think we had some mental lapses where we went to our back and kind of relaxed a little bit and got caught. And you can't do that against a 21 ranked team in the country, a Big Ten team. They're going to catch you if you relax on them. They're going to catch you. So good lesson learned, and moving forward.
Yeah, and then one of the standouts from Sunday was Rick Durso, who went 2-0. He's now just one shy of tying Craig Blackman's all-time wins record here for the program, 117. So just talk a little bit about the significance of that milestone.
I think it's like everything else. It's in perspective. It's just a good acknowledgement of his accomplishment. Blackman had a unbelievable career, and it's amazing that he was able to accomplish that many wins. And I don't think they did as nearly as many competitions as we have. So his win percentage had to be pretty high with the amount of competitions that they went to. I think we do a lot more tournaments, so it gives our guys a lot more opportunities to get those wins. But I think it's just something that we're not putting a lot of focus on. It's something that's going it's just going to happen for Rick, and I think it'll be a great milestone for him. He's made so many accomplishments since he's been here. An All-American and win records, and he's setting the bar a little bit higher. And I think that's what Craig Blackman and all those people want to do, is set that bar higher. And I think if he sets that bar a little bit higher, and I think we have younger guys that want to come in, and now they're shooting for that. And so all that really does is just move the bar in the a little bit higher for guys to reach, and which is always good. You always want to stretch and reach a little bit further. But for Rick, it's just another day in the office. We just keep plugging away and keep working. And I think he's going to be glad and happy that he has that win record eventually. But it's not his end goal.
Right. And then Antonio, you also went 2-0 on Sunday. A couple of close decisions. One of them was a 3-2 win over Northwestern's Conan Jennings. So just kind of walk us through your performance on Sunday.
We started with Oswego, and just the whole experience in general, wrestling at Madison Square Garden, and just the way they run things, where for the first time this year, we had to run our warm-ups before weigh-ins, which was kind of a new experience. I mean, it doesn't really affect me. I don't really cut that much weight at all. So, but I just knew, you get your warm up in, and then you weigh in, and then it seems like right away you're walking out and you're wrestling. So, my first match, I really thought I could have opened up a lot sooner than I did in that match, and piled the points on, and that's something I'm trying to work on. Not hesitating, especially against opponent like that, where I felt like I had size on him and could have really opened it up. My second match against Northwestern, he was a tough kid. He kind of in the first period he snapped me down, off a shot of mine, and just kind of instinctively I went to a quick peek out and got that takedown and kind of rode out that 2 points. And that's something I'm really kind of working on getting away from is winning 2-point takedowns. So, at the end of the match, you can give up a takedown and it's over like that. So constantly improving and not settling and sitting on small leads is something I definitely want to go into this break improving on.
Yeah, so Madison Square Garden, you ever competed in a venue like that in front of that many people?
No, nothing ever like that.
And then you're on a bit of a roll lately. You've won 4 out of your last 5. Is this the best you think you've wrestled so far here at F&M?
Absolutely. This gives just a huge confidence booster. I really am trying to, stop beating myself up before the matches and stuff like that, and just going out there, letting it fly. Because if I don't think I can win the match, then I'm not going to. You gotta believe you can win if you want to win.
Yeah, what are some of the goals for the rest of the season heading into EIWAs?
I definitely want to have a strong showing throughout the rest of the season. Get a lot of conference opponents coming up on the schedule. I've also wrestled conference opponents this year and haven't done as well as I'd like to. I think I only have 1 or 2 wins over conference opponents and maybe 2 or 3 losses against them. So I know they're more important, and we got a lot of conference opponents coming up in the second half of the season. But, the end goal for me is definitely to make it back to Madison Square Garden again and compete at the NCAA tournament. And that's what I'm looking forward to, keeping this momentum going through the second half of the season.
And then your younger brother, Santonio, he competes at NYU. He's also at the Grapple of the Garden on Sunday when his squad took on Stevenson. You get a chance to kind of touch base with him?
Yeah, I saw him. He was actually, so we were on mat 4. He was on mat 8, so he was on the complete opposite side of us. But and we were kind of warming up at the same time, and he went off before I did, and so I was watching him, but still kind of trying to stay focused. I had to wrestle, and it was nice. I got to see him. A lot of my family was up there. That's something we might not get to do again. Wrestle in the same venue, given 2 different schools. They don't always make it to the same tournaments or whatever. So that was really cool for not only me and him, but our whole family. It was nice.
Wrestling always been kind of a family affair growing up?
No. I went to high school just to play football. I went to LaSalle is a pretty dominant powerhouse in football in Pennsylvania, and I kind of just stayed with wrestling. I wrestled 3-4 years when I was younger, and then kind of picked it back up again just because I knew some kids on the team and kind of took off with it. And eventually, wrestling, trumped football because, I felt I had more of a future in this sport than in football. So it was nice to see kind of, that paying out for me in college now, as opposed to, having the regrets of. It makes it easier to give up a sport like football that you gave it up, having played your whole life and stuff. So.
What position were you in football?
Mainly defensive line.
Great. And you're planning on being a business major. So do you have any? You're only a sophomore now, but do you have any idea what you want to do after college?
Yeah. My dad owns his own business in South Philadelphia. He's in the food industry, and and I eventually, hopefully, would like to do something with that moving forward. Work for him after college, and maybe even do some stuff elsewhere and take off from that, or work for him. Whatever. It's a long time away from now. So,
Mike, let's look ahead to this weekend. Your team travels to Penn State for the Nittany Lion Open. Last year, Rick took first at 149. Jason Bing wrestled deep into consolation, so you guys have had some success there. 11 guys competed last year. Is that a similar plan for Sunday?
Somewhat. We're kind of splitting our squad. Some of the guys that don't get as much dual meet time will definitely go. We're throwing in a couple other guys. Rick is going to be there, and a couple other guys might be there. Again, I think it's a good tournament. It's a tournament that was going on for a while. They took a year off or so, and then last year was the first year they brought it back. This is the second year, so I'm anticipating it's going to be a little bit bigger than last year. So it's a great tournament, though. Great, wrestling at Penn State, you get a lot of those Pennsylvania teams. So I'm sure Lock Haven, Edinburgh, Clarion, along with a lot of Ohio teams and a bunch of red shirts. So it's a very competitive tournament, especially kind of ends our kind of puts that stopping point at the end of this first part of the season, and then kind of gives us some time. We get a couple weeks before we start back up with Midlands in our tournament, what we need to do, what we need to focus on. Gives us some time to kind of rest our guys. Guys, and typically this year they get a little bit dinged up. So after that tournament, we're going to kind of dial it back a little bit, focus on some of the things we need to clean up and work on, and then get set for the second half of the season.
Referring to Antonio and how well he's been doing lately, what's been the biggest difference from last year to this year? He went from 197 to heavyweight. What's been the difference?
I think the biggest difference, I think, he's definitely lifted himself into a heavyweight and did his job over the summertime. But Coach Steve Borgia, our volunteer coach, works a lot with our bigger guys and has really spent a lot of time with Antonio and all our guys, but particularly with Paluzzi here, and I think that has been a big part of his development. He's really taken all the direction that Coach Borgia gives him, and the biggest thing is what he's taken from the practice room. He's implementing it in competition. If Borgia had his way, he'd be doing all foot sweeps, but he's using his foot sweep techniques and then he's getting his offensive technique going. So just seeing his transition, and he wrestled at 97 last year, so he still has some of that mobility of what he did last year, taking into heavyweight. And a lot of guys aren't. He can moves very well for a big guy, and I think a lot of that again is a contribute to how Coach Borgia is training him. He really has him on the right track going forward, and I think that has been one of our biggest one of our biggest transition guys in terms of seeing improvements. So I have to give a lot of credit to my assistant coaches there with his development on that.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for sitting out here with us. Really appreciate it. And then join us next week when we recap the Nittany Lion Open and look ahead to the Midlands and the F&M Open near the end of December.